Welcome to Mike's Corner. I'm Mike, and this is my corner. On this channel, we talk about money, investing, insurance, basic economics, essentially everything you should have learned about in high school but didn't. So what did you learn about in high school? Well, you learned that the 100 Years' War happened in the 14th century between England and France, and you might have even picked up on the fact that it lasted more than 100 years, 124 to be exact. But how does that benefit you now? It doesn't. Money, on the other hand, is with us every single day. When we understand money, money works for us. When we don't understand money, we work for money. So what we want to do is create a situation where we understand money and are able to work with money to create a better life for ourselves. Last time we got together, we talked about money and happiness. There's a link to those videos below if you want to check them out. In those videos, we kind of talked about two types of happiness. There's a permanent happiness and a temporary happiness, and we unpacked those. At the end of the video, we kind of came to the conclusion that if we want some happiness, and money is a direct way to get that, or an indirect way to get that, we need to figure out how to get some money. So how do we get money? That's what we're talking about today. If you like what you hear, ring the bell, subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, do all the stuff you're supposed to do on YouTube. So how do we get money? There are basically four ways to get money. The first one, not necessarily legal, but it is a possibility, is to steal it. The benefit to stealing money is that you can get it with little or no effort whatsoever. Now, I will say, the less effort you put into the process, the more likely you are to get caught. And that, of course, is the downside. If you steal money, you'll get caught. Stolen money, though, is eventually going to be spent, and then you'll be back in the same position you are right now. Stolen things will eventually come to the end of their useful purpose, and you'll be back where you are right now. Stolen ideas? Now that's an interesting thought. Now, obviously, stealing intellectual property will end you up in the same legal problems that you have with stealing money or stealing things. But what if you steal stuff that's free? What if you steal ideas that are out there? In fact, a good example of that is the vast majority of everything I'm going to talk about today is not original. This doesn't all emanate from my brain. This is stuff that has been talked about for probably thousands of years and is now just being rehashed in a different way. Now, am I making money at it? Not yet. Do I plan to? Not a whole lot. But the reality of it is there's money to be made in other people's ideas. Take, for example, Elon Musk. Did Elon Musk invent the electric car? No. Some guy named William Morrison in Des Moines, Iowa invented it back in the 1890s. Now, we don't drive around in Morrisons, we drive around in Teslas. Why? Elon Musk took that original idea and modified it and came up with a better idea. Google, the very first search engine ever? No. Actually, Google didn't come around until several years after the first search engine, which was Archiform Query, back in 1990. What about the iPhone? Steve Jobs was the first one to come up with a mobile phone. Heck no. The mobile phone's been around forever. All Steve Jobs did was take an idea, modify it, and come up with a very successful selling mobile device. So I think one of the things that we can do is we can take ideas that are out there, modify them, improve on them. As long as we don't have any copyright infringements or patent violations, we can actually use that information to make money. The second way we can get money is to have people give it to you. Now, begging for money isn't exactly the most respectable thing. You see a guy begging on the side of the road for money, you feel for him, you may give him a buck or two. It's probably not something you want to do every day. The reality of it is when you ask people to give you something, they're likely at some point going to require something in return. They're going to want something back, and that's one of the downsides of having people give you money. Now, for small sums, that's great. You go to grandma and say, "Hey, grandma, do you have $5 I can have?" Sure, she'll give you $5. It's your grandmother. But when it comes to significant sums of money that are going to make a difference in your life, being able to just ask people for it and expect nothing in return, I mean, we have some nice people in our society, but I don't think everyone is that altruistic. With that said, there are some ideas that warrant looking at. There are websites out there. One of them is Kickstarter. Another one is Indiegogo. I've actually purchased products from Indiegogo, and the way that works is you come up with an idea, You put it out there on the site and you work with Indiegogo. You put your product out on their site and you get sponsors, people that subscribe and want to buy this product when it comes to market. Those dollars that you receive are used for funding this. And I've actually bought, of all things, earphones, I've bought socks, I bought a bunch of different stuff that where somebody created a product and they essentially just asked for money. Now, they did have to give me something in return, but the reality of it is one of the understandings you have with Indiegogo is the product may never come to market and you may never see your money again. How about GoFundMe accounts? We see those all the time. Somebody's dog needs surgery, so they put a GoFundMe out on Facebook, and all of a sudden, if the story is sad enough or if they have an intriguing enough story, people will send them money. And nobody generally wants something in return from that. They may want an update on how Fido did during the surgery, but that's about it. So that's a way to get money by having people give it to you. Not a long-term sustainable thing unless you want to be a perpetual beggar. A third way that we can get money is to borrow it. Of course, the downside of that is you have to pay it back with interest. However, there are some cases where borrowing money actually makes sense. Let's say I want to have an investment property and it's a $200,000 three-family home and I have $40,000. Now, there's no way that $40,000 is going to buy a $200,000 investment property. However, I can go to a bank and borrow $160,000 and I can give them the house as collateral for that. And then now all of a sudden, with the borrowings, I'm able to have an investment property that may throw off $1,000 a month in cash flow. Over time, my equity will build up. And in that case, the borrowing kind of made sense. Now, does it make sense to borrow from a credit card, let's say, to buy a television that you want? A television that's going to depreciate in value the day you bring it home and just keep going down in value. And you're going to pay interest on that and end up paying way more than the television's worth? Probably not. Debt for consumable items, debt for cars, debt for things that don't appreciate in value doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But debt in some instances does make sense. And that's one of the ways that we can get money, is to borrow it. Later on in the series, we're going to have a whole conversation about debt, consumer debt, long-term debt, the benefits, the drawbacks, what we can do to get out of debt. That's not the purpose of this conversation here. These 4 ideas are not necessarily the most original ideas you've ever heard. You can beg, you can borrow, you can steal, you can earn. Those concepts have been around forever. So in this video, we've covered 3 ways that we can make money. We can beg, we can borrow, or we can steal. In the next video, we'll talk about the 4th way, which is how to earn money. That's probably the most common way. If you like what you've heard so far, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the stuff you're supposed to do on YouTube. I'm Mike. This is my corner. We'll see you in the next video.